This subject actually arose, in my mind, as a result of a conversation, a sub-conversation, I suppose you'd call it, in the comments section of Sami Zaatari's latest video, where he rhetorically asks whether or not religion is an impediment to scientific advancement. The point was that at one point the Islamic world was cutting edge in terms of science, literature, architecture, even military advancement, and then for some reason it stalled and was overtaken and then eventually conquered, more or less, by the West. And the inevitable question was asked, why did it stall in the Islamic world, and then why did it not stall in the West? Why was the West able, the Europeans in general, the West able to dominate the rest of the world? What gave white man ultimately the edge? This is a video or a subject that I've always wanted to do, but it's hard to actually come out and discuss this sort of thing openly because of the implications. The implications are potentially very controversial, I suppose even explosive, dealing with things like race and racial heritage, and even notions of one culture or one attitude being superior to another, echoing, as they do, unfortunately, things like Nazism or white domination of other races being just the way things are and the way things are naturally ordered to be. Personally, I don't believe that at all. I think anyone who's actually seen my other videos will actually agree with this, but I'm trying to be honest, and some of the points that I may raise here may be seen as controversial, very controversial. So I would hope that we approach this as adults with open minds and not start insulting each other and calling each other racists or inferiors or something along those lines. Whether or not we like it, the entire history of the European peoples has been an extremely warlike one. Nobody fights wars better than Westerners. We don't tend to see ourselves as particularly warlike people. I think that Europeans, white people in general, tend to see ourselves as people who desire peace, who we only fight as a last resort or in defense. But if you actually compare our history to the history of the Chinese, the history of sub-Saharan Africa, the history of the Indians, the history of the pre-Columbian Americans, an honest assessment, in my opinion, has to lead us to the conclusion that for whatever reason, white people, or at least people who are the cultural descendants of the indo-europeans, i.e. the people who became all of the Europeans, the Persians, and the people that inhabit North India, the Russians, are for whatever reason more warlike than most others. If you look at the peoples of the world who have the most warlike traditions, I would say, for example, the Germans, the Southeastern Europeans, the Spaniards, even the British and the French. These are all Indo-European peoples. These are all Caucasian peoples. There are exceptions to this. For example, the Japanese, although they're generally a very peaceful people, when they want to fight a war, they go all out, if you actually understand Japanese military history. But this rarely happens. The Second World War and the First World War was more or less an aberration in the general picture of Japanese history. If you look at the peoples of Southeast Asia, at least mainland Southeast Asia, the Vietnamese, the Thais, the Cambodians, the Burmese, if you go and visit these countries, you're charmed by the constant smiles and the politeness and general cheerfulness of the people that live there. But these peoples are among the most warlike that you'll see anywhere in the world. The Cambodians in particular, this seemingly harmless little country, their history is almost endless warfare, and they're very, very good at it historically. There are other examples, say the people of the Punjab. These are not white people, but they are, I suppose, indo-Europeans. The Sikhs and the Punjabi Muslims are very good warriors. The Rajputs of India are essentially just a race devoted, or a caste devoted to warfare. The Zulu of South America, the Aztecs, these are the exceptions, I suppose, to the white man's warlike nature, i.e. it's not just white people that are inherently warlike. But generally the picture, as far as I can honestly see it, is that the Indo-Europeans, I shouldn't even say white people, are the most warlike. What I would be interested in exploring is what has brought this circumstance about. Because I believe that constant warfare and constant need to develop superior armaments is what has given the West its ability to dominate everyone else. In spite of the rise of China and Japan, I think that for the foreseeable future, the West, or the Western outlook, is going to be the dominant creed of the human race for the foreseeable future. And what is it that has made this creed so powerful that it can impose its will essentially on the entirety of humanity? Jared Diamond put it all down to guns, germs, and steel. I'm not sure that I agree with him, but I don't really believe at the end of the day that it was racial either. I'm going to be making a few videos on this subject. And again, I apologize in advance if I stray into territory that anyone may perceive to be racism or an intellectual justification for it. I'm simply trying to be honest. And I'm open to whatever kind of criticism anyone cares to slap me with as I explore this. Thank you.